Yes, sir.
I think some of it is already in his remarks with Dr. Islamabad. I think partly answered the question. Once he was talking about the politics around the non-competition regime. And once I made this comment about transparency within a group, recall how the 2008 trade waiver was managed for a particular country through a plurilateral process within the group, and then strong arming the others into giving it the waiver. And I think once there is opacity within the group, there can be problems because, for example, the two-step process that Mr. Khalil Hashmi was mentioning about, if the step 1 is being discussed and the engagement even within the group is selective, that you engage in penny packets, one country after the other, and you think that now you have a consensus, and leaving others and present it as a consensus document, you can have problems. That's how you can actually maneuver the process and build the pressure in making a discriminatory decision. That's what I would do.
Yeah, thank you. Any other panelists who wish to make any comments before I give the floor to General Ehsan? Khalil, do you want? Okay. General Ehsanul Haq, our chief guest, has graciously sat through this session, and it's very, very kind of him to give so much time to us today. And since he had mentioned very obliquely that he was asked to speak before the others had spoken and he won't have been able to benefit from any updates, I will now give the floor to him so that he can make his comments now that he has heard the speakers. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, certainly I am grateful because, as I said, the topic was the deliberations that took place in the plenary, and I wanted to hear, I thought, a more informed input on what happened there. My information was all from the net or from the newspapers. But now we know where we stand in terms of the transparency of those proceedings. So now one can make a better comment. And I have jotted down through the proceedings some points, and I'll go along. First, what we have to realize is that our nuclear capability, our nuclear program is a reality. It cannot be wished away by those who didn't want it to be there. So we've got to proceed from that point of self-confidence. That is there, it's a reality. We have to move forward from there. Now, it will be a huge political advantage if we can be apart, we can be inside the regime, the international nuclear order accept us as a nuclear weapon state. And NSG we have laid down as a milestone for our mainstreaming. So I think it should be our utmost political, diplomatic endeavor to get into this. Let's be very clear on that. Now, but there are a few things which it must be understood in what context we can get into this regime. First, you must understand that our nuclear capability is a function of our national security compulsions, something which I said at the outset. And there is a total national consensus on that. This is what the international community must understand and appreciate. There are no two views in Pakistan that whether we should have a nuclear capability or we should not have a nuclear capability. As long as this message goes loud and clear to members of the NSG or beyond, then I think they will appreciate what to ask from Pakistan and what to expect from Pakistan. We would like to be treated in a fair and a non-discriminatory way, to be mainstream as an equal member. These words are important. We have to be an equal member, and of course, we have to be flexible. I absolutely agree. Forgot your name. Simon is very right. There are many things that we can do, and I'm so glad Dr. Saab is here, because in our working group, I had been insisting that he must come to Pakistan and speak to a wider audience on issues which we can do without a cost, which doesn't really impinge on any red line as far as our nuclear capabilities are concerned. Things which impinge on our red line, we'll underline the national consensus. The national consensus cannot be touched. The national consensus is no infringement on our sovereign rights, on our nuclear capability. But beyond that, there are many things that can be done, and I'm glad they came under discussion here. Now, as a consequence of what I said, we will not accept any conditions, and in this case very, very subjective, which are not applicable to India. We have been saying this, and I think there's no harm in repeating it every time, that we will be prepared to do what you have asked the Indians to do and what they have done to get that extra special treatment. We'll be prepared to do that. Please give us that treatment. But don't ask us anything beyond that. Because for us, NSG, as I said, is very, very useful. It's very desirable. But then we are not desperate about it. I think we are living without the NSG. This is a message we must go out of this forum. That we can live without NSG. We can live through sanctions. We can live through discrimination. But we think it is to our advantage to be mainstreamed. It is to our advantage to make progress, and we are prepared. We are flexible on that. As long as I said, it doesn't infringe on the red flags. It cannot be used as a coercion or a containment or a curtailment of our legitimate sovereign rights. This is the message which I thought we must send out. Now, in my view, Pakistan's inclusion in the NSG, in fact, Pakistan, India, and let me use the I word, the other I word, because Modi is visiting Israel. I think our inclusion will strengthen the regime, the non-proliferation regime, rather than weakening it, as is sometimes the argument which is presented. Pakistan has a very good record on export control, safety, security, and we cannot be in perpetual punishment and brandishment for the A.Q. Khan affair. I think a time has come. We are now past that by more than a decade or a decade and a half. And I think we did take some very stringent measures, and I was a part of those proceedings. So I think we should very confidently, with self-assurance, go up to the international community and say, hold on. Now don't keep going back to the A.Q. Khan affair. We're way past that. We have a very, very enviable record in terms of all these issues, and we have a very legitimate case to be considered, particularly when it comes to our energy needs. I specifically once again want to say self-confidence. I think the situation is changing, particularly the last two plenaries, when the Indians went out and President Obama was sort of keeping his hand on their back. It didn't work. And I think since then, there is a far greater realization within the NSG membership and outside that there can't be any discrimination. It will not work. And I think the Indians have also realized. And I think realities have dawned on them that it cannot happen that way. I just want to make two more points. First is on the outreach. I am glad our diplomacy, our diplomatic outreach is gone beyond the United States. Frankly speaking, for a very long time, our outreach was premised that if we can convince the United States, then the rest of the membership of the NSG and the broader international community will come on board. Whereas our feeling, some of us felt that no, we have to, all these members of the NSG and the international community are equally important, and we need to reach out to them individually and collectively and make our case. And we have seen that a very large number of them have turned around to our viewpoint, which in itself is something which will be witnessed and which will be monitored by the United States. Let me also tell you that our American friends even suggested this to us. They said, look, guys, all the time you are trying to convince us. We are not the only ones. Go out. There are many more people. Talk to them, and it will make a difference. And I think it will make a difference, and it is making a difference. Finally, there were many questions. That what is, in our view, is the criteria? In my view, it's very simple. Our criteria, we don't have to really write thesis on what is our criteria. Our criteria is very simple. No discrimination. Anything which is non-discriminatory will be acceptable to us, and it will carry us through to the membership or onto any other forums. As long as it is non-discriminatory. If it is discriminatory, it will invariably be aimed at knocking us down. So we can keep the details up our sleeves, but as long as we throw out this message, no discrimination, I think we will be able to come up with the criteria. Once again, I am very grateful to have been asked on this forum and to be able to share my views with this very well-informed, very distinguished group. And I'm particularly grateful to have Tariq, Kazmi, and Khalil Saab with us on the panel. And it's indeed a privilege to be listening to your very well-informed opinion. I certainly am better informed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Islamabad. You very clearly outlined how we should, what is our Pakistani perspective and how we look at this whole issue. Before we conclude this session, I just like to mention very quickly that the second session is has been designed in cooperation with NDU to have a broader perspective of the security factors that go into the overall nuclear situation in South Asia. And there we will have the two British professors who are visiting us from England. So this session will start immediately after tea. And Mariam, you can announce, make the good announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I request both the chairs, speakers and the CISS team to come to the front for a group photo with the chief guest. And the rest of the participants are invited to have tea. We shall reassemble at 5:30 for the next session.